Right. Well, I want to start with the FBI search warrant on Mr. Salgado's van. The FBI claims that drugs were found in the van. Do you believe that?
The FBI claims that what they believe are drugs are found. They won't have confirmation. None of us will have confirmation until a laboratory test confirms it. Based on everything that we know about the individuals in that van, especially Mr. Salgado and his brother, we don't believe that there are drugs in that van at all. Now, we will wait for final confirmation, but if it turns out to be what we believe not to be drugs, then I think that the federal government's going to have a lot of explaining to do about why they decided to unseal a search warrant completely against their own normal practices in cases like this. The only thing that can be determined is that it was an effort to change the narrative on something. And regardless of what the test actually shows, possession of a controlled substance in Texas and in the United States is not a capital crime. There is nothing that has to do with why they were stopped or how they were stopped regarding those drugs at all.
I was going to ask, do you believe that that has anything to do with the shooting death investigation?
No, and in fact, it doesn't. We know specifically they weren't trying to be stopped for drug possession. No one involved even was aware that there were potentially drugs in the car. So this is a red herring. It has no bearing on the shooting investigation, which is what the community and this office is concerned about.
From your perspective, is there any idea, if you don't believe they're drugs, what they could be, what that substance could be?
We believe that we know what it is. It's not something that we're going to go public with, but I think that the laboratory tests are going to confirm what we believe and that there is no illicit material in that van at all.
And from what I understand, your office was present during the execution of the search warrant. Were you just observing, or did you play any other role?
We did not play any role. We were there. We had two people from this office that were invited to be observers as the FBI executed that search warrant.
You kind of touched on this already, the fact that this search warrant document was released. What does that say to you about how the federal authorities are handling this investigation?
It's completely out of the norm. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't think I've ever seen a search warrant unsealed prior to at least a grand jury presentation in a case. The fact that it was effectively filed unsealed with the probable cause affidavit of 10 pages, it's not their normal behavior.
Obviously, we went through that document. It really only focuses on these, potential possible drugs, right? From what you saw yesterday, has there been any movement on trying to find evidence of the actual shooting in Mr. Salgado's van?
Well, you read the probable cause affidavit as well as I did. It did not detail anything regarding the forensic data that cars usually have when they're involved in collisions. It didn't reference anything that would be actually substantive in an investigation around either their stated goal of an assault on a federal officer or the investigation that we're running, which is a shooting investigation into the death of Mr. Salgado, neither of which were really touched on in that search warrant.
Is that concerning to you?
Well, I don't know how it advances the investigation at all.
Obviously, you mentioned your own independent investigation. Obviously, a big chunk of that will and has included trying to get surveillance video. Have you seen the Metro bus footage? And if you have, does it show the actual shooting? How would you describe the video?
So I'm not going to go into any specifics because the most important thing in this entire thing for me in this office is to protect the integrity of our investigation and potentially a future presentation to a grand jury and a jury if criminal charges are appropriate. So I can tell the public and I can tell you that we have seen just about every surveillance piece that really is out there. We're now expanding outside of the block where it all occurred, and we're trying to piece together the entirety of the morning that Mr. Salgado had before he was killed, and as much as possible, the entirety of the morning that both of those ICE vehicles were involved in prior to the shooting. So that's where we're going. We're expanding out to see where they first came into contact with each other and things of that nature. But we have seen just about every piece of surveillance footage that exists.
And you can't go into detail on what that Metro bus footage shows. Right. Obviously a surveillance video, but also I'm sure any video from the public that might have been around there yesterday, or not yesterday, last week. You mentioned your office had gotten more than 100 communications. I'm assuming that number has jumped?
It has. The number of people that have reached out either by our secure portal or just to the office is really staggering. And I think what that says about our community, about Houstonians, is that when one of our own is taken or harmed in any way, you see us rally around them, the family, and just our community as a whole. And it's very invigorating and heartening to see fellow Houstonians rise up and reach out the way that they have.
We know that Texas Rangers are now involved in the investigation. Are you cooperating with them? Is this a collaboration with them, or are they a separate investigation? What's that conversation been like?
No, so in almost every officer-involved shooting that we investigate here in Harris County, the Texas Rangers are right there with us. They are our partner and agency that run these parallel investigations. So trust me when I tell you, it was a welcome thing to see them come in. We collaborate with them on a daily basis regarding this and everything else. So it's the more people that can be involved and resources that can be dedicated to getting to the truth of this, the better.
Does their involvement make you feel a little more confident in the investigation?
I was confident in our ability to investigate this from the very first day. Again, the more resources, the better from the state and local side. But regardless of who is involved, the public can rest assured that this office will investigate this fully and will be transparent with our findings regardless of whether or not we eventually charge anyone.
At this point, do you trust the federal investigation?
I can tell you that this is not the normal way that a federal investigation of this kind is done. I have the utmost faith and trust in the local FBI Houston office, from the special agent in charge down to the special agents and everyone else. We work with that entity day in and day out in crimes and investigations of all kinds. I have the complete trust in them. Who I don't trust and what I am concerned about are the people that are above them, the people in Washington, D.C., the people that have an agenda that has been spoken about. And so that's what makes me concerned about this entirety on the federal side of the investigation. It's why we started our own independent investigation the day of the shooting.
You know, as part of your investigation, have you been able to speak with the other 3 men who are currently detained, who are also in the van?
So our access to them has been extraordinarily limited. What we are efforting, what we hope to be able to do, is to speak to them in a really robust way pretty soon. We certified on Monday the U visa applications that these individuals are material witnesses in our view on this shooting. That is the first step in a pretty lengthy process to ensure that they stay. And it's no different than what we do hundreds of times every year when we have material witnesses around other crimes. So we're going through the process to try to get them to remain here, because they're critical to getting to what actually happened out there.
You mentioned that's something that you typically do in a situation involving people who might be in that situation. Was there any fear that there would be an expedited process on the federal level's part to get them out before you guys could speak with them?
There is still fear about that. We know that they have upcoming court dates, which is extraordinarily concerning to me. When you have 3 individuals who were eyewitnesses to a federal agent taking someone's life on a street in the East End of Houston, to be rushing those people to send them out of the country, It's not best practices. You're not going to try to get to the actual truth if you're trying to throw away, quite frankly, out of this community 3 of the eyewitnesses.
And again, at this point, we're standing here, I don't know, time is it, 12:45. Has your office still had no communication with DHS, OIG, or ICE on this?
We have not. And to my knowledge, we are 9 days post this shooting. And we don't even know the name of the federal officer who fired his weapon and killed Mr. Salgado. It's unacceptable. It is something that just is so out of the norm that it's hard to convey that to the general public. This is not the way that we do things.
That name hasn't been released, and as far as you know, has any conversation happened with this agent?
It's not to my knowledge. To my knowledge and to anyone else on the state side, no one knows that this individual has given a single statement about this shooting at all.
So moving forward, obviously you were present for the search warrant yesterday. You mentioned last week that you would be pursuing legal action if you didn't get access to evidence. Is that still on the table if that access is limited in any way?
Every day is kind of a new day, and we're going to see how we go. We're going to get access to the evidence one way or another, however long that takes. But as we sit right now, I have hope that we're going to have further access to that van and to other pieces of evidence that we currently don't have. But we will do and take every measure necessary to make sure that we have a complete investigation.
Is there anything else that I'm missing that you wanted to touch on?
I think we covered a lot right there. That's well done.